Okay, welcome back. Thanks for joining. This is going to be a very quick video. Yeah, I'm talking about in this video. In real time, yesterday, my mom and I went to lunch and a conversation that I was a part of. And so that's today's topic. Thanks for joining. I want to give glory and honor to God for restoring my voice in more ways than one. And yeah, let's jump right into the video. So, yesterday, my mom and I were at lunch and we were eating pho. By the time our food was done, my mom goes to the restroom, and two tables behind me, I'm looking at a window, two tables behind me is, I guess, a guy walks in with his children. Unbeknownst to me, because I didn't see it. And my mom comes out of the restroom and she says to him, "Oh my gosh, your children are so beautiful." I didn't turn around. I didn't think anything of it. The children are beautiful just in general, but I didn't think anything of it. Long story short, I didn't think anything of it. It wasn't until I heard the father say, and very loudly, he says, it is because they are Black and Korean that I turned around. Like, it wasn't until I heard that. And so I turned around just out of curiosity. I was curious to see what the father looked like. I didn't even really, at this point, it didn't even matter to me what the children looked like because I could already envision that, right? But I wanted to see who said it. I wanted to see what this man looked like. Who's instilling their beauty standards on their children like this and in public. So I turned around, and it was interesting to see that the father, he was, but yeah, he was Korean, and he could have been. Honestly, very well, anybody could have said that, right? But it makes you question the motive on why you said that, and also, like, how many times before has he said this? How many times before have his children heard him say this? And how many times, right, are now his children, who are biracial, clearly, because that's the first thing. Honestly, when I looked at when I looked at his kids, it was evident there's Black there. That was the first thing. That's the first thing that I saw. But how many times have they heard that in the manner that they've heard that? Not just from him. I wonder if their mom says that. I don't know if this man is a single father or not. I didn't see a wedding ring on his hand. I didn't see the kid's mom anywhere in sight. So I don't know his relationship status, but he was eating lunch with his two children, just the three of them. And so, no, I don't know for sure if he's a single parent, but it makes you wonder how many times, do single parents, or parents in general, really, parents in general, impose their desires on their children. Yeah. So that stood out to me because it's almost as if, and again, this is like, it's kind of off topic, but it also kind of is on topic. Off topic in the sense that it's race and identity. And I can't speak to biracial. I'm not biracial. I'm, a Black woman. So I can't speak to it. But what I can speak to is what I saw and what I heard, right? And as someone like listening from the outside, I can only imagine, as these children get older, what that could potentially do to their psyche, right? Will they now, because they've heard this so many times, Well, they now only equate beauty with being biracial, right? I wonder. They've heard it. Who knows if they're hearing it from their mom? And not that's not to say that, my mom was saying it and like, oh, they're beautiful because they're biracial. No, she wasn't. She was just saying, because they were beautiful children. Um, and it's not to say that, she was saying that from that perspective, right? Oh, they're biracial. No, she was saying that they're genuinely beautiful kids. But it was the father's response that changed that whole conversation for me, the whole topic, because it was like it was unmerited. Nobody asked you their racial identity because you could clearly see that they were black, right? That was my thought, right? I was like, and he said it loud. And yeah, we were in a Vietnamese restaurant, you know. It was so many layers. Like, could he have been, could there be some underlying tones with Korean versus Vietnamese versus Japanese? Who knows what's going on in his mind? But what he just exposed his children to in public was a little, I don't know, it just made me think. It made me think. And it made me think about how often do parents, impose their desires and their wants on their children. So yeah, that was something. Yeah, that was something that really stood out to me about yesterday. And then we get in the car, and then my mom says to me, "Why can't you meet somebody like that?" And I said, "Like what?" She was like, "Oh, he was really handsome." I, but as if that's the only thing that he like can offer, right? Yeah, he was. I don't know. I was just really, and she does that from time to time, and we've had conversations about this. But yeah, I just think I feel like the older I get and the older she gets, the more I have to be, and the more I have to remind her, right, that her projecting is not helpful, and I don't, it's unwanted at this point. So as a daughter of a single mother, I know she means well. I do. I know she does. I know she wants my sister and I to settle down and meet someone. But it's also, there are some variables that are at play here, being a daughter of a single mother, right? And that's actually brings me to my other point. That will be the topic of the next video. Um, Really just discussing how being a daughter of a single mother, what and how that has shaped how I view men, how I date, um, if at all I date, relationship wise, like what has that looked like for me, or what that could look like for many of you, if you identify with some of my, pitfalls, successes, etc. That's the next topic. And I understand that it is a sensitive, and it can be a sensitive topic, but it is one that, having lunch yesterday, just enlightened me to even more, like topics and discussions that I like am excited to have here. And yeah, and really just talk. So yeah, the two questions, one for the daughters and one for the mothers. The first for the daughters is, this is what I would like for you to ask yourself, and I've had to ask myself this. So the question is when I imagine my future, do I feel peace and excitement or pressure and fear? And also guilt about disappointing my mother or your mother, right? I'll read that again. So when I imagine my future, do I feel peace and excitement, or pressure, fear, and guilt about disappointing my mother, your mother? And the difference between those two is peace signifies alignment, and chronic guilt signifies parental projection. So think about that. And then for the mothers, this is for the mothers, this is for the grandmothers, right? If you are from a generational mother, daughter, grandmother, single parent household, right? This is for you. One question that I feel, ask yourself. Am I encouraging my child or grandchild to discover who God created them to be, or who I needed to become but never had the chance to? Am I encouraging my child to discover who God created them to be, or who I needed to become but never had the chance to? So if you had your child early, right? If you had them at a in high school, if you yourself hadn't grown up, and then your mom raised, your grandmother raised you, and then you now have this is a question that I would encourage you to ask yourself and really write it down. And if you're a mother, dive deep into that. If you're a grandmother, dive deep into that question. So yeah, until then, till the next time, thanks for joining, and I'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye for now.